All right. Yeah. Welcome, everyone. My name is Rob, and this is our knee rehab and health little workshop. And just a reminder that, this is always obviously a complex issue, and there's a lot of context depending on the person. But there are some kind of fundamental exercises and things we can do regularly to improve the health, strength, and stability of the knee. What you're going to notice, yogis, is we've done a lower back workshop and we've done a foot and ankle workshop, and you're going to see how some of these exercises, relate to each other and are in all the workshops, because that's how like our joints are designed to work. Our ankle is designed to help. A lot of the joints, the muscles that are crossing the ankle are crossing the knee. A lot of the joints that cross the hip, the pelvic tilt, are crossing the knee as well. So you're going to see some kind of things repeated from previous workshops. And those are the exercises that are really the fundamentals of just making our legs and core more stable. So my goal here is, yogis, to give you some exercises that you can make the most practical. And by that I mean, it's just like, say, I always like to say, you just add to like your morning walk. How can we make this as easy for you as possible? You don't have to have a yoga mat. You don't have to take special time out of your day to make our body healthier and work better. And then I will give you a few exercises that are, maybe have to be done in a little bit more kind of separate, isolated approach. Okay. All right, guys. So what's the most practical thing that I can do to make my knees healthier? And it's very simple. It's walking backwards. All right. Now, this is an ancient method used in yoga. It's used in the Chinese Qigong and Tai Chi. And it's simply walking backwards. So say you're on your morning walk and you literally, you have a long strip, you're not going to trip, right? You literally just walk backwards. Okay. And I want, I'm not going to walk around the room here for 10 minutes but that is literally it. Now, some things we talk about here are posture, right? Stuff like this can cause a lot of imbalances. So if you walk like this, that's a big difference than this. So I want you to remember this. If there's one thing today to learn about how to keep your knees healthy, if you go for your half hour, 45-minute hour walk, whether it's morning or night, when you find a nice flat area, well, ideally, actually, it's walking uphill backwards, but going up, flat is enough. Not downhill. That's not going to do it. That's actually backward. So walking backwards on flat or uphill, you literally, in your morning walk, just walk backwards. That is going to be like the best thing you can do easily for your knees. Now, next most practical exercise, we call it like a knee floss or an assisted squat. Now, the goal here is just to literally, on your morning walk, you take a tree, a pole, a bench, and I want you to start to squat. Now, a lot of people, guys, are going to need a little heel lift. So what's the easiest way to do this? By taking a pair of your shoes. So say I had shoes on. I should have gotten my shoes. You take them like this, and you're just going to sit. Let me get my shoes here. They are not there, of course. So what's the most easy way to do this squat? It's like this. You put your heels on a mat, and that's going to allow us to squat deeper. In the knee flossing squat, we want to actually squat deeper. So it looks like this. I'm just going to get down and up, right? Down and up, like work on bending my knees. Now, you've heard all the cracks and pops of my knees. I do want to learn to move my knees. So I want to elevate my heels a little so there is that minor plantar flexion. So it's called like a plantar flexion squat. So my heels are lifted. Now, a nice way to add on here is to grab something. That's called the assisted squat. So my heels will be lifted slightly, but I'm still actively pressing down. So it's called the knee floss, right? It's going to look like this. Notice how holding something is going to allow me to kind of lean back into my heels more, not into my knee squat, right? So you're literally, I want you to get like 20 to 40 of those in, like a floss, like up and down, really get the joint lubricated and moving. So there's our most like practical things you can do if you had to pick two, right? So the knee back is going to get the straightening and the resistance. As I walk back, I'm pushing this way, okay? And then as I bend the knee, I'm in that other plane, the back plane there, rather than the front. It's kind of like when I'm working with athletes
I don't even like, I will have them run forward and back. I will literally have them just run backwards, up and down the field, no frontwards, right? Backwards. You'd be amazed how much that'll change. And it's so good for your brain too to walk backwards, by the way, okay? Next practical thing, this is from our foot and ankle workshop, is just a simple calf raise. This is something I want you to do regularly, guys, okay? Boom, boom, boom. I'm just lifting my heels. Now this is how it starts. A neutral, boom. Okay, this is one of the best things you can do to also strengthen the knee joint. These muscles, the upper calf, notice it's a straight leg because it's the upper calf, it's the gastroc, and those are gonna cross the back of the knee. Remember that your knee, there's no knee muscles, that there's muscles in the shin and in the calf and in the thigh crossing the knee to stabilize. It's stabilized by tendons and ligaments. And we have to really focus on here and here, right? So there are other contraptions you can use for a knee floss, right? They do the compression around the knee, the compression around the shin, and then they do the knee floss with the squat I mentioned. But really, yogis, if you don't have that, you're just gonna do the squatting with the assist with the heel lift to start. It'll help you squat deeper, and that is the goal. After you're really warmed up in your morning walk, you do your knee floss, right? You do your walking backwards, and then you do your calf raises. Ideally, you do a hyper range calf raise, which means you go into active dorsiflexion. So, say that this was like a stair. Say it was a little curb. A curb on the side of the street works awesome. So if they say this was a curb, all right, you might have to find a pole. Now here's where I go, my heels lower than my toes, and then I lift up. Lower than my toes, lift up. So now I'm starting to bring the ankles into a hyper range, fuller range. So this is my heel, this is my toes. It's on the curve, it goes below, and then you press up. So it starts just like this, right? But then you dip your heels below the toes on a curve, let's say, and then you press through the ball of the feet and the toes, lift those heels high as possible. And you do, a couple rounds of 20 to 30 until you feel a good burn. So easy, so practical, boom, you can do that so effective. Now on the other side, we have to do what's called like a shin activation or dorsiflexion. This is active plantar flexion. It's like the pointing of the foot, right? So now you saw this in let me just check my little list here. You saw this in the foot workshop. So listen, I'm gonna lean up against the wall. This is the opposite of your calf raise. Let's call it a shin raise, okay? My feet are gonna go about 6 inches away from the wall to start. As I bring my feet more forward, it is more difficult, all right? I'm gonna push my back against the wall, and watch what I do. I press my heels down, and I bring my top of the feet toward my shins. I slowly lower down, flex those feet. Notice my knees are straight. Now, it is good to do it both ways, knees bend, but I do want you to focus on knees straight today. We need to work on, we're gonna go into this next, is the knee extensions. So the knee extensions and knee flexions, but we're starting from the ground up with our ankles. So my knees are straight, my thighs are engaged. I'm leaning back, I'm just pulling the top of the feet toward me. Okay, you see that? Okay, so in essence, what I'm doing is leaning against the wall. Let me show you. So the calf raise was this. I'm just activating the back. Now I'm leaning against the wall and I'm going like this. This is what I'm activating now. And this is to stabilize the knee through the front, okay? That's a really important principle to understand. It's kind of like walking backwards to walking frontwards. So we do in the calf raise for the back, walking frontwards, which is what everyone's doing a lot. And now we're doing the shin raise, the top of the foot toward the shin for the front. That's a really important exercise. It's really not done enough, yogis. Remember that one because it's key. Now, the next thing we can do here is the knee extension. What's the most practical way we can do it? You're on your morning walk, you find a park bench. You sit up very tall, flex, flex, straighten that knee, flex, engage the quadricep. That's gonna straighten the knee. Flex the foot, that's gonna engage here. Lower down, hold. So I isolated knee extensions, but it is compound because it's flexion in the ankle too. So this is a really simple thing you can do. All right. Another nice way to do this that's a little bit softer and easier is to, let's just say, take a blanket. Say you're in your yoga practice and you want to do that in another way. Another nice way is to roll up a blanket. You put it under your knee, which creates a little bend, and then I press the back of my knee down and sit up tall and this is actually a little bit more for like rehab, like, you know, meniscus tear, some of those other knee conditions people get. It looks like that. So you're gonna really feel around the knee light up, right? Now we're getting more into the knee joint. The first few were a little bit more like ankle and lower limb. Now we're getting a little bit more into this upper thigh, right? So that's the same exercise, okay? Now, on the opposite side of the coin there, you notice how there's always the front and the back. We're about to go medial lateral too, but this is how you can do this in a very practical sense on your morning walk. Knee flexion, not extension, not straightening it, but learning to bend that knee. Now, this might become before the morning squat as well, because it's that same action in a sense. Watch me here. I simply go like this. Okay, I'm just like, I do the breath so you can hear it like that. I pull the ribs in, I let the knee go back, and I squeeze my heel to my butt. You have these three muscles, the hamstrings. They run from here all the way down, and they cross the back of your knee. They go on the inner, they go on the outer, right? So they're wrapping around the back of the knee here to the, the fibula, and the tibia, and the fibula bone there. And they're gonna stabilize the knee in the back and on the sides a little bit, posterior. So doing some knee flexions. It's a really good way, especially if you had trouble with the deep squat. So you would start with the knee extensions, like sitting down for a moment, and then you're just gonna go here. Notice I do point my toe, yogis. Here I was flexing the foot as I'm straightening the knee, because that's front line. As I point the toe and bend the knee back, it's back line. Pointing the toe is, again, this, activating the calf, the back of the lower leg. By bending the knee, I'm activating here, the back of the upper leg. Okay, so hamstring is combining now with calf muscle. Previous exercise was quad combining with shin muscle, front line. Okay, I got one more little option for you here now. This one's not as easy to do, so we're getting off of the practical sense. Now, this one is not easy, guys. So you're gonna have to find the easiest way to do this is just on your morning walk, if you find a little hill. Say there's a quick declined area. Say this is my right foot on the decline. This is another way to do it. So this is called a shin squat. Now, I want to stand up tall, and I simply bend my right knee. Yes, my right knee does go in front of my right toes. I know that America is the land of keeping your knees over your toes, and it's a big yoga thing. Get that out of your mind, seriously. You know, that is not, do you know that America has 19 times more knee injuries and pain than every other country in the world? Like, and this place, like we're in China, where everyone's told to walk backwards, they have like minimal knee problems. Walking backward uphill is the most practical thing you can do. Anytime, anywhere, then you add your little calf raises. You're done. And if you can add the squat, you're really doing good at that point. Now, this is getting a little bit more advanced where I'm on a decline. I'm just using something to lift my heel. And I go like this. You see how, what is it? It's knee extension now in plantar. So now I'm getting into a little bit more complex, right? Now, ideally, eventually, you're gonna be up higher. But look at this, my heel is lifted. I bend the knee, I just tap, and then I drive through the knee. I drive through the quad, right? See how the knee goes actually forward? You know, in yoga, we're taught, oh, don't ever let the knee go forward. That's beginner. You got to throw that out the window a lot, yogis. All right. Our goal is to stabilize the knee in a lot of different ways. Okay. So that is a little tip there. But if you're doing your shin raises, look, you're doing these. Man, I remember I am leaning back. So if I could give you another little angle here quickly, guys, from like the side maybe. See, I'm up against the wall. Legs straight, good posture. And I really want to get into that and squeeze my thighs. It's that same idea of like sitting in a chair and going like this, except now the focus is really your shin, right? The knee never bends here. I engage my thighs. Okay, that's going to be a game-changing exercise for your knee. Now, another thing we can start to add is what's called the wobble board. So we've been really focused on front and back, but the key is the knee stabilizes like this a lot too. And it starts from the foot up. So what do I like to use? My good old friend, the wobble board. Now, the way you really start this safely, guys, is 2 feet, okay? So what am I doing here? It's lateral, so I want to go right, left, right, left. So yeah, I'm not really working on balancing right now, even though that is a huge part of knee health, just balance. We're going to go over this in a moment. What's the most practical thing you can do on your morning walk? Tree pose. Hold, hold, hold. Press big toe down, press outer foot down, press heel, press toe down. Don't let yourself fall, and then move forward and back, then move side to side, right? And then do the circulars. So we'll get there in a moment. But the wobble board is my favorite because it brings into hyper range. It really makes you go into a space and come back out. So you're doing a 2 foot, right? You're working on going to the outer edges of your foot. That's why I always say, if you don't have one of these, you're kind of, flopping. It's like one of the best exercise tools. All right. So I'm going out and in, but not only am I pushing through the outer edge of my foot a little bit, big toe, and the inner edge. Okay. I love this thing, man. It's the game changer. It also allows you to do what I call the shin squat. If you watch me, previous exercise, look how I tilt my foot down. Now this is tough because it's unstable, right? You could just stabilize it by, putting the block under there more. And then look at shin squat. The main goal is to bend the knee, it goes forward, and straighten that knee, it pulls back. I was going to do some band work, right? There's a lot of stuff we can do here, guys. We could spend all day giving you knee exercises, but how do we make it the most, just easy for you to do? All right, so you did your wobble board. This idea of eventually going to 1 foot, right? Where I'm kind of like this, forward, back, and that really covers, in a sense, shin raise, calf raise. But again, we're still on the knee and we're still going sagittal, very forward and back. So I kind of start going out, in. So there's this certain injury where, you get this like tibiofibular dislocation or separation right here. It's very misdiagnosed knee injury. Like seriously, people get like surgeries from like misdiagnosis of this injury. You see it a lot. That's important, yogis, is to remember we need to strengthen the knee forward and back, side to side, but then there's also the rotational quad, which we're going to finish with, okay? And I'm going to give you something very practical. Give me 1 second, please. All right, so let's just get right to side. So what's the most thing you can do on your morning walk? It's just balance. We've talked about it. Now, like I said, you go forward and back, you go side to side, okay? That is one of the best ways you're going to work the strengthening of the knee, but try to engage your quad. See how the muscles above my knee? Engage. Here they're being lazy, here they're engaging, and I'm just working to stand up, right? The weight shifts inside. I have to press the big toe down. That strengthens the inner line. Oh, it goes out. I got to press the outer edge of the foot down and shift back. Oh, I go back, go forward. One of the most practical things you can do. Boom, balance. Ideally, it is barefoot, but I get it. Sometimes you can't do that on your morning walk. There we go. There's like really practical. Another really good thing you could do easily is just called the step up. So say, ideally this is a little bit higher than a curve. Again, the idea is that knee extension. So say you're in a workout routine or you come across a low bench. It's basically this, guys. Straighten that knee, slowly come down. Straighten that knee, slowly come down. It is a way you can start to do, in a sense, a more strengthening variation of squat. It's just called the step up, okay? It's really good stuff. Now, a lot of us have trouble. So the step up, I'm just going to quickly mention, it's fantastic. I'll be honest, it's not like my true favorite. I've been showing you some of my other favorites. Shin raises, seated knee extensions to start, and then you do weight, knee extensions, or the micro squat, which I showed you, the shin squat. Okay, this one. All right, so now we get into the lateral and the medial line, all right? My two favorite, lateral and then medial. I've showed you this before. It's called piriformis tension. Your knee has to be stabilized out here too, on the outer side, the side. Now this is called the piriformis tension. We always stretch this muscle. What is that doing? Making your body weaker. What does that do in making joints less stable? Really loose muscles don't stabilize joints well. You're signaling collagen 3 and elastin every time you stretch. Stretching is good, but if you overdo it, it's not good. This is a piriformis tension. Think pigeon. You can do this on a morning walk. You just go like this on the outer edge of your foot. Outer edge is the key. Knee opens. I hinge the chest forward. You're going to feel the weight, the tension in the outer leg, and you come back up, squeeze your butt, lift your chest, press the foot down. It's called a lateral leg piriformis glute tension. You gotta be careful because remember I mentioned you get these like injuries in the outer leg. All right, so you're here. So we're, just to be clear, we've switched gears. We're in the lateral and rotational body now. We're not forward and back as much, even though there is forward and back. So on your morning walk, think pigeon. You go like that. Make sure your left foot's underneath you. The knee's opening. I hinge forward. You know how we do this one constantly? This is also fantastic for your knees. Here, right through the back of the knee. You know how you feel that there? Just a quick mention. I can't give you too much. It's the problem. I'd rather give you stuff you're doing less of. Shin raises, calf raises, piriformis tensions. All right? The floss of the squat. I guarantee most of these aren't walking backwards. That's why I said it first. The stuff you're not doing is where you're really going to get the change, okay? It's called piriformis tension. I push the outer edge of my foot down, outer edge of my foot down, and I come back up. That's all the weight you need to start. Eventually, you can use the weight, right? There it is. There's outer line. I want to give one more exercise in this plane, and it is the moving lateral tree. So you go here. We've done this in yoga a lot. Watch. Right in the morning walk. You try to see how can all these exercises, how can we make them just done easiest in the morning, right? Or in the afternoon. Hips left. You know, it's kind of like you're standing and you go like this. Literally, your hips just flop to the left. That's an adduction in your hip joint, and a lateral tilt in your pelvis, right? So then as I go here, it's an abduction, so it's glute medius. And you're going to really feel a lot of work in your hip there. But remember that the hips and the knees never work independently. Literally, like in life, you're never working isolated actions. The goal is to, in a sense, strengthen them all together. You can see how much I brought into the ankle. Now we're kind of up in the hip more. Your knee, like really, guys, it only goes forward and back. But it does have stabilizers that kind of run all around it. Circular, side, and forward and back. So what does move lateral is the ankle. I showed you in balance, right? There are more detailed ways to do that. I can't give you too much. I'm already giving way too much. Hips go right. So I get lazy, hips go left. So this is adduction, abduction. In a sense, literally your legs are going like this. In a practical sense, you could do it, you know, to really see it, it's the same action. If you're doing it in a gym sense, you do it like this. See how my inner thigh is lifting? That's a really good one, guys. Flex that foot and lift the inner thigh up. Remember, I'm not taking time to do all this as a group. It is an instruction-based class, an education class, not a fitness type class, okay? So there's some nice exercises you can do. Piriformis was outer. This is kind of both to do easiest. Look at it from the side. You see how you can barely see it? That's because I'm moving laterally. That's why I have to show you from here. That is unreal for the knee because it's the balance I mentioned. It's the shifting weight side to side. We're trying to develop stabilizing there. I want to give you one more. So this is going to conclude our knee rehab. You know, we could do stuff like this, guys, where I start to compress the knee and go forward. So like sometimes, right, at the gym, if my knees are feeling irritated, we're getting into the advanced realm of knee performance, all right? I do a squat, keeping my heel down, letting my knee go forward. I'll even lift the heel a little bit sometimes, and then I push the heel down and come back up and back. It's literally like called like a knee squat. That is not for beginners. That's for people with like already healthy knees who can squat very deep. That is the advanced knee training. Yeah, my knee went as far forward as possible, and I didn't keep my heel down. Those are a bit like no-nos in the beginning. I do teach that stuff and do that stuff, but it's more into high level, intermediate, advanced, okay? And sometimes I'll do it with weight, like, you know, not my full body weight, but about half or 3/4 sometimes. Just a little bar, like 120 or 80, and I can do that extended knee lunge. Knees forward over toes, okay? I just want to mention that. I would say most of us probably don't do that. You know, you're doing this one instead where you go like that, okay? The shin raises, the calf raises, the lateral stuff. Okay, final knee mobilizer. I mentioned this idea of these wrapping spirals, they call it. Your body is designed to spirally stabilize. Think of it like this, okay? But in the knee, we do this one in the arm. It's called supination pronation. We have that down here, and you have this, rotational quality. So how are we gonna do this, guys? How are we gonna rotate the knees to stabilize? It looks like this to start. We do it gentle yoga. Right foot in, my left foot doesn't pivot, right foot out. Right foot in, turns in, right foot forward, turns in, right foot behind it, turns out. Then I do it with less putting weight in the standing leg. Do you see what's happening? Let me show you from this angle. It starts by putting weight into the stepping foot. This foot does not slide. It's glued, cemented to the floor. That's the key, all right? With practice, more strength. Watch me here. See how I don't put that pivoting foot down? I keep the weight in the standing leg and go from medial, lateral, medial, lateral. Now, there's a lot of ways to do this, but that's the most practical. How can you add it into your daily life? Easy. You don't need to do it every day, guys. I'd say probably 2 to 3 times a week. So like, as you start to construct your morning walks from just this very linear automaton thing, you start to add things. Remember I said glute stuff today in yoga. You know, we've done a lot of stuff as we've gone through some of these workshops where you can add certain walking techniques. We're gonna do postural correction soon. We haven't done it yet, but so look guys, it looks like this. Hips turn open, knees turn out, hips turn in. So that's it, more weight. How do I do this even more? Look. The foot doesn't slide, yogis. That foot is what's creating the rotation tension. In a nutshell, here we go. A summary of class. We have to learn to straighten and bend our knee better. Most practical, walking backwards. You can do that every single day. It will change how your biomechanical body works. Walking backwards, please. Calf raises. Maybe in hyper range on a curve, you gotta probably hold something. Shin raises. You gotta lean up against the pole or wall. Lift your balls of your feet, your heels stay down. Lift the pad. Walking backwards, calf raises, shin raises. Balancing on one foot, shifting a little side to side, forward and back. Maybe right here, adding this and this. Boom, that's all done. Maybe sitting in a bench, doing your little knee extensions. Really trying to straighten that knee and that quad. In a nutshell, the hamstring. I wanted to mention bridges. I wanted to mention doing some hip flexor stuff. We can't do everything. All right? In a nutshell, the squatting, lifting your heels on a little. Remember, squatting is easier like downhill. So if you're on the beach, downhill, holding something. Knee floss. Get those squats in. Hold something so you can squat deeper and take weight out of the knees. Eventually add more weight. Okay? And then the last thing here. So there's the most practical approach. Walk backwards, shin raises, calf raises. Balance on one knee in the twisting. This is like the most risky form. The lateral. And don't forget maybe your piriformis tensions. Now we could go further into this, yogis, but I think that's a good start. Again, you know, we could keep going. We could spend a 2-hour workshop on just your knees if I break down all the details, but I want to make it digesting. You can take this and use it. So if you hopefully, I encourage to take notes. Eventually, I've been being lazy, not putting my videos up. I'll get them all done one day. They'll be up there on the link. So walk backwards. If you could take one thing, walk backwards. If you could take 2, calf raises. 3, shin raises. 4, balance. And squat floss 5. Knee extension seated, I mentioned. Wobble board, fantastic. If you need release, the ball, pigeon, right there, right below the knee. You let that ball press here. Remember, the ball is into the musculature. So right there, right below, you do a pigeon, you let the ball hit there. Second spot, you let the ball go in here. Third spot, you let the ball go here in hamstring. So I'm not using foam roller right now just so I can get that trigger point approach. So last 2 minutes of class here, guys. Pigeon right below on the calf. This is fantastic to release the knee. I have the ball here. You can go up and down and stuff, but just maybe start by letting it go on the outer upper shin. If you know your acupuncture, that's stomach 36. It's good for the digestive tract as well. And I'm already feeling that. Ooh, that's so good across the ankle. Okay, that'll help release the ankle. Under the hamstring. Hamstring attachment, that's going across the back of the knee. Okay, and I did mention getting on the inner thigh. Not as easy. You might need a foam roller or a bigger ball to get on the inner thigh pressure point, kind of right there. Remember, that's going to cross the back of the knee. My favorite quick stretches for releasing. I want to encourage strengthening and mobility. So my favorite things, okay, are this lateral tilt. We do this in gentle yoga. A little bit more. Just some last food for thought here, guys, to get a little bit more release is the triangle tilt. You know, you do triangle and you get that nice pop. Going here. If it's like, you know, pain here, I'm just getting a little bit more release. Just like we've strengthened, you would also stretch in all forms. So we're going here. You would also stretch like that. So you straighten your knee and then you stretch in the morning walk. We've been working on bending the knee. You stretch like this on your morning walk. So I did want to mention some of the stretching aspects. This would be a little bit more way to get the inner thigh, gracilis, the back of the knee. It's similar to if you're sitting and you're here, right through here. Really good stuff. This is a fantastic one. So just some food for thought. I'm not going to cover stretching too much. I wanted to cover active stuff that you can do in the morning, like on your walk. But I think that's a pretty good start. Remember that I want you guys to, you know, email me if you have any questions. I'm going to try to get this video up on the internet soon, and you can kind of, good idea to rewatch it.
at your own pace, pause video, maybe take notes, and start to just like picture how you're going to maybe add stuff if knee is your issue. All right. Or if lower back was your issue, I gave you some things for that. Yeah, so there's our knee workshop. Hopefully you got some new things to work on and some tools for your wellness belt. All right.